Welcome to this sneak peek into the Scale Up course. I'm Dr. Fumi Rachel Barr. In 2009, Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why, and that started a whole movement to inspire people and employers to share their why or their purpose for starting their company. I met Simon in 2010, and as a result, I was so inspired that I wrote my own book after interviewing 50 CEOs from around the world on what their challenges were all about. So, A CEO's Secret Weapon: How to Accelerate Success, which has a foreword by Simon Sinek, is all about using your why as the engine to overcome the many challenges that CEOs face. If you haven't watched Simon's video, TED Talk, then do so. He's got in excess of 53 million views at this point in time, and it'll be well worth your time to watch that video. The statistics are absolutely frightening. 80% of all businesses never get out of the stage of chaos while growing. In fact, 80% of businesses fail. And I am totally committed to giving all the tools necessary to grow safely so that you don't grow broke. A little known fact about the US companies: there are 28 million firms in the United States. Of those, 96% are under $1 million. That it leaves only 4% to be over $1 million. And in fact, there are only 17,000 companies that are over $50 million. We all think because of Facebook and Apple and Google that every company grows to be huge, but that's simply not the case. And what's really sad to see is that between every stage of growth, like between less than 1 million to slightly over 1 million, there's a valley of death. And there's a valley of death at each stage of growth. What this means is that in the valley of death, it's time for people to assess their processes and their people, because what got you here won't necessarily get you there. The reason I love to teach all about growth is because I don't want to see businesses fail. Getting to $1 million is tough enough, but not be able to grow beyond because you don't have the right people in place or the right processes in place can be really sad. There are 3 common causes of failure. Of course, there's many more, but I'm just going to share 3. The first is lack of a clear vision and a why. You need to paint a vision of what your company is going to look like and why, in fact, you're in business. I am a co-founder of a pet technology company called Scholar. Scholar stands for Smart Collar. And our collar is like having an Apple Watch for animals to monitor health, to search for items in a marketplace. And our why is to shape the future of animal care. That is how we always introduce ourselves. I had a client once who was struggling to get people's attention. And as soon as he sent emails that started with his why, he was astounded at how people actually responded to him. Being in business isn't just about money. It has to be bigger than that. It has to be because you have a calling and you want to make a difference in the world. Secondly, many leaders are so busy working in their company instead of on their company. There's always a fire to put out. There's always something else to do, but you need to take the time to work on your company as well. If you don't have well-defined priorities, key performance indicators, and weekly milestones, it's really easy to just work away. And at the end of the year, you say to yourself, what have I done? I didn't accomplish any of my goals. In order to make your goals come alive and to be successful, it's very important to have clearly defined priorities, not just for you, but for anybody that works with you. Otherwise, it's so easy to chase shiny objects, and you don't want to do that. And there's so many more that you'll learn in the course. Just 3 for now, but more to come. So, does this describe you? You're living in chaos and you're always totally stressed. You lie in bed at night looking at the ceiling, wondering how you're going to get to the next stage, how you're going to pay payroll on Friday. Or you're overwhelmed and you just don't know what to do first. You have so many items to prioritize. You have lists and lists of lists, and you just don't know what to do. So you have to take a moment, figure out what's really important. What's that one thing that you have to do now? Or you don't feel that you have the knowledge to make your business success it should be. I know that my first iteration, Frumi 1.0, if you like, was a physical therapist. I came to business after a couple of years being an amputee specialist. It took me several businesses growing wildly to realize I needed a business education. So now I love to work with people who have not gone to college to learn business, but had a brilliant idea. If that's you, then I have the knowledge that you need in order to be successful. And another thing that I heard from so many CEOs across the world is they didn't know whether they should invest in new projects, in new equipment, or hoard their cash. In times like these, it's always a dilemma. What do I do? Invest or hoard? So, what have you tried? I can imagine that you probably guessed, here's what I should do next. I don't know how successful that was. Or you might have experimented with different things. Some worked, some didn't. Maybe you read books. There's a book on every subject, but reading one book isn't going to get you where you want to go. If you want to know about exponential growth, read more than one book or get the resources from a course like this so you know exactly what books to hone into. What about asking your friends? Now, I'm sure you have wonderful friends, but none of them is as knowledgeable about your business as you are. So even though their advice might be great, they probably are concerned for you. They're concerned about the risk that you're taking in perhaps leaving a job and starting a business. So your friends are going to be a little bit overprotective and might not be the right people to give you advice. So how do you achieve success? Well, you have an opportunity in just a few modules to learn how to hire and align the right people. Get the right people on the bus. Jim Collins has a book called Good to Great. And what he advocates is get those right talented people on the bus and then figure out what seats they should occupy. Create a successful strategy and then execute flawlessly. So strategy is everything. It takes time to create strategy, and you will learn how to create that strategy and define it in one sentence, and then execute flawlessly because a business plan isn't enough. In addition to a business plan, you also need an execution plan that clearly defines your priorities in a series of 12-week years. Do you have a decision-making process? Very often in my experience, the person with the loudest voice or the most assertive or domineering person in the room says, I think we should do it this way. And that's the way the decision goes. But the first question is, are you working on the right problem? Can you have constructive conflict with your team members or even with yourself to make sure that you're focusing on the right problems and making the right decisions? And then again, how do you manage your cash? Your cash is the oxygen of your business. And if you run out of cash, well, you just run out of luck and you're out of business. So if you're a serial entrepreneur, learn how to do these things and many more. Then you can wash, rinse, and repeat if you're a serial entrepreneur and use these concepts to pilot all of your companies. And the result that you can get from this? Well, tens of thousands of executives and entrepreneurs have been successful as a result of the concepts you will learn. There are a couple of really strong systems out there by which you can learn how to grow. One is the Scale Up system, which used to be called Gazelles. The other is the Entrepreneur's Operating System. In my opinion, each of them are lacking something, and I have synthesized it all into one simple methodology. Some of my clients like to call it the Frumi Fix. You could decide for yourself. And so what's next? Your turn. Start now. Why wait? Success can be yours, and I wish you every luck, every bit of luck.